Freedom! Just another word for nothing left to lose, or just at a loss for words about nothing? The long-haired big city girls in the Michigan dorms in 1962 had pierced ears. Who were they? And how could I get a pair? These women seemed to be the first real people I had ever seen. The girl in the room next door looked like Joan Baez, so I moved in with her. Once I scraped the money together for my studs, I had the ear piercer on our floor do me with a needle, a match, and an ice cube. Look magazine called the turtleneck San Francisco beatniks hip, or hipsters. But no magazine christened us. The name Hippie blossomed naturally. We were baby hipsters, and we were making heaven. By 65, the expressiveness of the boys caught up with us girls, and now they too wore their hair long. They left the khakis in the frat houses and pulled on blue jeans that showed off their bodies so that we girls could see what we were getting ourselves into. We were equipped with our birth control pills. Life was still promising, and we absolutely were not going to grow up and believe in God and war and washing machines. When things got serious, I donned my first pair of combat boots and headed off to Berkeley. And now that I'm old, really old, and I'm a retired professor who still gets email from her last college, an email floated up to me just this morning, and it grabbed me. The whole intervening 60 years became clear. The email announces that the administration is sponsoring participation in Pride Week or Pride Walk or Pride something. Mom is packing the lunches for us to go protest. What had been a counterculture has fully and utterly become the main culture. Businesses were advertising their product with wokeness, not for profit. Profit be damned. Everything had turned inside out, fully. We were hoping and expecting in the hippie days that everything would turn inside out, but now it was the top doing it to the bottom rather than the bottom up to the top, the youth to the adults. Now everyone was a teen, whether they were teenaged or not. The flip had begun in 1967 with the dead hippie casket ceremoniously carried out of the hate in San Francisco. We so wanted heaven to come. It had begun innocently. We were going to join with our hair and our beliefs and a few drugs if we wanted them, and our love and our flowers and our love and our babies if we made them, and our faith. Yes, most of all, our faith. And we would forge into a whole new world that would leave our parents and their wars forever in the wake of time. And now it was dead. Even if many of us true believers like me didn't drop out of this religion for another 4 or 5 years. It was called the counterculture, because it was counter. It was against the main culture. Now, 60 years later, it's not counter. It's the culture. It can't be a revolution when the power structure has become it. Woke is. Freedom is not. Everything is upside down and inside out when your mother helps you rebel. Even war is in. When I was a young professor, we held our classes on the grass outside because we would not enter the hallowed halls because in its way, the university supported the war. And now the schools pack the lunches for the kids who want to rebel. And they're all for the war, together. There's nothing left to rebel against when Mama helps me cut my boobs off if I want. When I can be anything at all that I want to be, there's no freedom. In 1972, the music started degrading. Don McLean's American Pie said it right out. The music died. So much was in the music. And the music industry began to pick it instead of us picking it. We teens in the 50s got shook loose by Elvis and the Everly Brothers, and we saw the freedom that America was capable of. But then by 1964 in the Gulf of Tonkin, we began to see what America was really capable of. We were alive, and we knew that war was not the answer. We were seeing body bags each night on the nightly news. Well, now we don't see body bags anymore. We just see talking heads with hair that's far too nice, telling us that there are dead bodies somewhere and a war somewhere that we should support by saying that we do, and that Mommy has the lunches packed for tomorrow's protests. The plaza, which hosted the free speech movement, Sproul Plaza, now fights free speech, and it's supported by the authorities. Culture has turned inside out. I saw a report on a fashion show, a runway fashion show this week. The first model had a long skirt on, except the waistband was up around her neck rather than around her waist, and then the skirt flared up 4 feet above her head. She wore a nude body sock below. And then the next model wore a dress that was just a flat image of a dress suspended on a hanger and wires that stood out about 10 inches in front of her body, and she wore her nude body sock behind it. And the third model had a regular dress, two-toned, with the top one color and the bottom another, but it was attached at the waist and it went sideways, the top to the left and the bottom to the right. It was a perfect metaphor for how insane we have become. How can I ever thank God enough for birthing me during an era where I got to catch a glimpse of freedom and unity and community? But how can I ever cry enough to express that we lost it? It got eaten by power. The rage to express is that locomotive inside, the spinning that takes place between chakras. But at this stage, to express what? I so wish for the youth that they could have the innocence and the faith which we glimpsed in the 60s and which was ruined by war and then eaten. I want so much to believe that freedom will still win for us all. It takes an inner revolution supported not by hair and dress, but by radical faith and expression and love. Yeah, love. Because this inside outing was not natural. It was manufactured. It has pitted us against one another. This is not what's in our hearts. We are one, united in the freedom inside. We shall overcome.